Video game traversal is really important, and nobody does it better than Spider-Man. There's tons of games out there with great traversal, but Marvel Spider-Man 2 takes the cake. It's like if all the great traversal in video games was lined up at a birthday party, ready to go get some cake, Marvel Spider-Man 2 is at the front of the line, unhinged its jaw, and shoved the entire cake into its mouth, and walked away. Everybody cakeless. Just look at it. Just look at the way he goes. God, I would do anything to be Spider-Man. You know, like my uncle, gone. Sorry, Rick, I gotta swing through the city. Look, I know some of you aren't gonna agree with me on this, okay? There were so many games over the years where I thought, man, this is the best traversal has ever been in a game. But this one, I seriously think, takes elements from each of those games and builds on them to make the greatest traversal system in an open world game I've ever played. While I am going to be praising Spider-Man 2 just a ridiculous amount through this video, I mean really pressing that web shooter till something comes out, I don't think it's fair to say that Marvel Spider-Man 2 perfected traversal without looking at what came before it. And so that's what we'll do. We'll take a look back at all the great traversal games from over the years and hopefully along this journey explain how. If we're gonna talk about Spider-Man 2, we've gotta talk about Spider-Man 2. The different one, not the other one. This bad boy came out when I was 4 years old. So imagine like me, but like littler and like learning to walk. I think I'd only been dropped on my head once at this point, so I was still kind of functioning. And all of the brain cells that survived that fall were being used to process Spider-Man 2. This was it, and this was the game. Don't get it twisted though. This game wasn't just a big deal to 4-year-olds with developmental issues. It was big for everybody because at the time, this was a technical marvel. There was no other open world like this. It was even being compared to GTA in some magazines, right? You remember those? You remember magazines? Haven't seen one of those since 1856, ye old Game Informer. And while GTA's world at the time had a more impressive size, what was so impressive about Spider-Man 2 on the PS goddamn 2 is that you weren't just walking around like this everywhere, opening cars, just wiggling your whole body around. You were up on top of buildings, swinging through the city so much faster than you're going in San Andreas. I truly don't even know how they did it, because not only did they just break the boundaries of what an open world could be at the time, but they also created this momentum-based web swinging where the webs actually attach to the buildings through some like ray thing like they point out. You don't care how it happens. It just happens. The webs attach to the buildings and they swing through the city with momentum in a way that is so universally praised that every Spider-Man game after it, years later, is compared to Spider-Man 2. This is the gold standard for so many people. See, web swinging in games comes with a unique challenge, right? Because it's not as intuitive as something like running and parkouring, and even flying for some reason I feel like clicks in my brain a lot faster than something like web swing, because you have to consider like, how long is the web gonna be? Are you gonna make it? You know, just there's a lot of factors to think about. So naturally you would think like, okay, this is the first instance of, you know, momentum-based web swinging in a game where all the web's attached to buildings, it's all got physics. You would think that the game would, you know, hold your hand and really, you know, guide you on this process. No. Nuh-uh. Nope. No, you're gonna smack into some walls. You're gonna hit several walls. Yeah, no, this game did not hold your hand in any way. If there's one thing I can say about it, and one thing a lot of people really like about it, this is hard. It's really hard to like do it and make it look cool. I'll be honest, I find myself watching Spider-Man 2 swinging videos all the time. I mean, this stuff, oh, I can watch this all day. This is my Zen garden, my koi pond, my meditate at the top of a mountain in my undies. This I only am gonna watch if I really want to get like stressed out and feel like someone is attacking my home. It's fun to do, don't get me wrong. It is fun to do, but it looks bad. I mean, they had to give up some stuff to make the open world as fun to play in. And that was the graphics. It don't look pretty. And I know that doesn't matter to a lot of people. To me, it matters because I like roaming around the world and it looks pretty. This looks like Roku City. You ever go on your Roku TV and you see the like city in the background? This is that. You're swinging through Roku City, getting faded in Roku City. People also really like that Spider-Man 2 has fall damage. You know, when you hit the ground, you just flop, you know, and that's the first thing you're gonna do, right? You're gonna jump all the way to the top of a building and just splat down because it's fun, because why not? You know, I think this actually contributes to the fun of web swinging because it makes it a challenge. You know, it's not just like there to look pretty and get you around. You actually have to be skillful or you are gonna flop on the ground like a fish. I really feel like this was the first game to make you, and I'm gonna say it, okay? I'm gonna say it. The first game to make you feel like Spider-Man. Oh my God, dude, I know someone at IGN just creamed in their slacks. I mean, this was such a leap forward. Every Spider-Man game before this was just like kind of spinning webs at the sky while you fly around. And yeah, it had its flaws, but it's still, even today, one of the best traversal systems in games. But hang on now, it is not the best. It was. Just a little bit later, let's fast forward a little bit, 2010. That's right, baby, I'm talking 2 years pre-Obama, little 4-year-old me, boom, 10-year-old me, now I'm a little asshole, I wear cargo shorts, and now I skate a whole bunch. I've already hit my head like 5 more times. And after a long, hard day of being a 5th grader, you know, the real heroes, I came home to play Skate 3. I mean, if we're talking about traversal, we gotta talk about at least one skating game, right? They're all about traversal, and Skate 3 did it the best. Don't get me wrong, I love my Tony Hawk's Underground. I'm a little bit of a pro skater hater, but Skate 3, that rhymed. It just clicked for me. I'm sorry. But Skate 3, oh. You know, even for people who didn't like skating in real life, Skate 3 just had this addictive quality to it. The game definitely isn't remembered for its story, right? I honestly, I don't even remember if it has a story, but I do remember its innovative controls, the right stick being used to flick it around and do tricks, and the tricks themselves, seeing how many tricks you could do in a row to get that score up, how high you could fly if you went off of this specific ramp. Skate 3 definitely had that leg up on Spider-Man 2 because it had those tricks, those different ways to customize your traversal. You know, you weren't just swinging around trying not to hit a wall. You were skating up onto a rail and then grinding and then doing a kickflip off of that and then doing a whole titty spin. I don't know. Skate 3 even made falling more fun. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the Hall of Meat. I was way too into the Hall of Meat, okay? I loved this thing. The whole point was you would try and skate off a ledge or do something like that and you would hurt yourself on purpose, and the more you hurt yourself, the higher the score was. Oh, baby, I spent way too much time doing this. This must have been in like the Jackass era or something. I don't know. It's just got that vibe to it. Skate 3 set a new standard for open world movement, at least in terms of customizable traversal. And just 1 year later, we got a traversal system that I would consider to be just as good, but in a different way, with Batman Arkham City. Batman Arkham City is the game that made me realize that while I value speed and ease of use in a game's traversal system, those are not what make a traversal system good. In fact, if those two were the only factors in a good traversal system, then fast travel would be the best way to get around, and people would actually enjoy Starfield. You need something limiting you on how you can get around. And like for Spider-Man, for example, it's the buildings. You know, you need the buildings to swing off of. For Batman, I mean, he's just a dude, he's just a guy. And so he needs something to grapple on to fly up into the air, and he needs like momentum and gravity to glide. It's a pretty simple gameplay loop, but at least it makes you think, even if it's just on a caveman level. Like, where do I grapple? How long can I glide before need to grapple again? Now that I think about it, I'm sure that's why they struggle with like making a Superman game, right? Because flying around would just be so easy and you'd end up just holding the left stick forward unless they, you know, made it interesting some way, which I'm sure they could. There's so much you could do with flight. And also, Rocksteady, you teased that Superman game so long ago. I'm not gonna forget. Bebo, remember. You better make good on that Easter egg and make the game, or I'm gonna have to step in. And you don't want that. And you don't want me to step in. Moving on, we're looking at 2012, okay? Obama's in the house. Corey's in the house. I am not in a house. My house burnt down around this time. It was a horrible tragedy in my life and in my family. But what wasn't a tragedy was Prototype 2. If you've never played Prototype 2, I'm gonna be honest, it's like Spider-Man Web of Shadows, but better. This game didn't even really abide by the laws of physics in any way. You could just like grab people and turn into them, and I guess you'd be eating them technically, and you're just like running, and then, oh man, you're running up a wall. Now you're jumping really high, and then you're gliding. Why are you gliding? Who cares? But really the best part about it, and you already know what I'm gonna say, it was the traversal. Running around in this game was all I ever wanted to do. I mean, I still pop on this game sometimes just to run around the city because it's so much fun. And what stands out to me as the best, what this game does better than any other, is its progression system through traversal. When you start off, you're pretty quick, but it is nothing compared to where you are at towards the end of the game. Something about just gliding down onto an unsuspecting pedestrian, picking him up, sprinting up a building, and just holding him there for a second, and then launching him like a football all the way into the end zone, baby. That is a field goal. Is beautiful. Seriously, if you ever want to feel like a tank, just sprinting straight through enemies, like being attacked by multiple armies, and the armies are still the one at a disadvantage, play Prototype 2. This game is so good. I would say play Prototype 1, but I regret to inform you, I have never played Prototype 1. Feel free to draw me on the cross because of this. I feel I deserve it. All right, about a year later, right? You know, I'm getting a little bit older at this point. Some things are changing. And just as my balls drop, so do 3 games with amazing traversal. We got infamous Second Son. We got Assassin's Creed Unity. And we got Sunset Overdrive. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one for each testicle. We'll go in order of releases that year. Start off with infamous Second Son. Let us bow our heads for just a moment and appreciate how good this game was. Oh, I mean, I'll always say, right, Infamous 2 is the best game in the series, but infamous Second Son, that traversal was on another level, and it was for one specific reason, okay? I don't think it did anything necessarily revolutionary with how you get around, other than the fact that you have multiple different power sets throughout the game. I guess this is a spoiler for the game, but it's so old, who cares? Just play it at this point if you haven't already. You start off with smoke powers, and you get to do things like go up through vents to quickly make it to the top of a building, dash forward in a puff of smoke, or, I mean, every power has like the gliding powers to get through the city. But throughout the game, you realize that your powers aren't just that you get the smoke, but that you can absorb the powers from other people with powers. You're like a sponge. And so you meet some girl with neon powers, and then you get those powers. And now all of a sudden, you have the movement abilities that she had, where you can just run really fast through the streets. You can run up walls, things like that. So cool. So much better than the smoke powers, and you get more throughout the game because later on you get the TV powers and you get these wings and you can like shoot up into these signals and fly up into the sky. Each power set has its own unique traversal abilities, which I think is such a smart way to make traversing the world throughout a long game extremely fun, because you get to pick and choose how you want to move around. If you get tired of maneuvering with the smoke abilities, you can move over to the neon and move over to the TV. It was so good. And I think more games need to implement this ability to switch your moveset throughout the game. All right, up next was Assassin's Creed Unity. And this game was a little controversial among Assassin's Creed fans because a lot of people liked the older stuff where you were parkouring and it felt like you had more control. But I loved Assassin's Creed Unity because that shit was beautiful. There is a surprising amount of depth to the parkour mechanics, but at the end of the day, you don't really have to do too much to make it look awesome. You hold right trigger and the parkour up button to just, you know, you'll just go up and you'll do like 10 different flips, and then all of a sudden you press the down button, you're doing like 15 different flips. It's all very automated, and I think that's something that older games couldn't really accomplish due to technology constraints. But this game was definitely the first to implement that level of automation, you know, where you kind of just are suggesting where the character should go and they will follow with 1 billion flips. A lot of people don't like it. I really like it here because I can pull off tons of cool tricks and tons of different parkour moves without having to be a master at the game. I'm not very good at games. I just like to have a good time, and I had a great time in Assassin's Creed Unity. And did I mention it is beautiful? I'll go on YouTube to watch free roam videos for only 2 games. The first one, Spider-Man. I'll watch free roam videos of Spider-Man. The second second one, Assassin's Creed Unity. And I know I'm not alone, it's millions of views on these videos. You're out there. It can be seen as a negative by some people, but I honestly really loved this moderate level of automation in my parkour system. Especially given how many animations there are in this game, it just never gets old. Of course, they had to go and ruin it with Assassin's Creed Syndicate and the worst traversal mechanic ever, where you just shoot a grapple thing and you go up and you have no control over it. That's too much automation. For that system, I'm a mega hater. What I'm not a mega hater for is Sunset Overdrive. Oh my God. If you don't know it, Sunset Overdrive was created by Insomniac, the same people who made Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. If you want to know how they got the job for Spider-Man, that's how. It was that. I remember after Spider-Man PS4 was announced, but before it had actually come out, I wanted a taste of this, and so I bought Sunset Overdrive, and oh my God, nothing got me hyped. No trailer got me excited more than just playing Sunset Overdrive and seeing what these developers were capable of. The story is insane, the guns are wacky, but moving around the city was just so much fun, and it made no sense. Why did anything happen? Why not? Grind on these rails with your feet. Just everything's a bounce pad. Everything is I'm grinding on it. The movement had so much fluidity and the animations were bouncy and cartoony. The whole game really just had so much character. What Sunset Overdrive was able to do that a lot of games fall short on is create an open world that is cohesive with your movement system. I mean, they just put wires everywhere for you to grind on. And cars, oh, that's not a car anymore. That's a bounce pad. And they're gonna put them everywhere. So throughout the game, you always have either a wire to grind on or a car to bounce off of. And this wasn't just how you got around. This is how you fought. This is how you stayed alive. Because these hordes of zombie kind of things, like soda zombies, I don't know, the story was crazy, would just come rushing at you. And the only way to stay out of danger was to be skating around all up on the rails and such. They built a world that was perfect for it and created a need for you to do it all the time. Right, so each one of these games has one or a couple features that I think really pushed forward open world traversal. In one way or another, these games changed the game of games, the game. And now, just before we take a look at the peak of open world traversal, let's take a look at the lows. Oh, the grind. Sonic Frontiers. Why him fast but make me feel slow and sad? Forspoken. Speaks for itself. Atlas Fallen. The skating on the sand mechanic was actually pretty cool, but got old really fast and the story was so bad. Any horse in any video game ever. I understand. You guys want to live out that cowboy fantasy. Let's just slap a jet engine on this horse and all have a better time. Gotham Knights, where you ride these motorcycles and you go incredibly slow, yet there are these like speed lines on the side of the screen that are just taunting you while you cruise at 35 miles an hour. Not to mention each character has their own terrible movement abilities. I just can't believe they did this to Red Hood. It makes me want to mystical leap off of a bridge. Those are the only bad ones I could think of, but let me know in the comments if you think of a couple more. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Put your hands together, put your toes together, wiggle them around a little bit, because it's time to talk about Spider-Man 2, Marvel's I really have been a Spider-Man fan for my entire life, and when I say Insomniac perfected open world traversal, I mean, to me, this is perfect. This is all I've ever wanted from a Spider-Man game or an open world game at all. Both games, Spider-Man 1 and 2, start off with the first thing you do is the swing. You pull the right trigger and you start going. All of a sudden, you're Spider-Man. The web swinging has pretty basic controls. You pull the right trigger to spin a web and you let it go to let go. Even if you don't want to engage with any of the other mechanics after that, you can get by with just doing this. Up here are all the standout features from the games that came before Spider-Man 2 that I think really pushed forward open world traversal. And I would argue that Spider-Man 2 implements every one of these things just as good, if not better. The original Spider-Man 2 had that groundbreaking open world and the fall damage that incentivized you to be purposeful with your movements. The open world in Marvel Spider-Man 2 is basically just a big flex. It's Insomniac putting their balls up on the table because it is just that good. They go, hey, I'm gonna grab Miles and throw him across the city, and you're going to watch the entire city load in real time. You're gonna fast travel instantly, just like that. You're gonna switch between Miles and Peter instantly, just like that, and swing through the city with such a fast speed that you wouldn't normally be able to accomplish without those fast load times. And what's crazy about it is they didn't even have to compromise on the graphical fidelity this time around. This game is stunning. We have come a long way from Roku City. Fall damage is something that I don't necessarily care for in a game like this, but I understand why some people like it, and Spider-Man 2 gives you the best of both worlds. There are options to turn on and off fall damage and change the swing assist. If you want it to be a challenge, you can have that. But if you just want it to be baby sensory ASMR to stimulate your little brain, you can have that too. With the swing assistance all the way up, you get that almost automated experience like you would get from Assassin's Creed Unity. But with it turned all the way down, you get that unforgiving slapping into walls experience you got in Spider-Man 2. And both of these are fun in their own way. The same way that in Skate 3, you can hit down a ramp, then ollie up, go into a grind, hit that back onto the ground, do a kickflip, and all that kind of stuff. In Spider-Man 2, you can go straight from the ground, do a web pull, slingshot yourself into the air, swing off of a building, hit into a wall and start into a wall run, swing yourself around the building, go up into a web glide, pull out your web wiener, spin it in circles, and then you become a web wiener copter, and all the while being able to do tricks and flips mid-air, gaining a score just like in Skate 3. There really is a uniqueness to your style of swinging. I would know I have watched a lot of different people swing, and sometimes I'll be watching a video and I think to myself, this guy doesn't swing right, and I get pissed off. This was kind of a stretch. It was more of an excuse to talk about Batman Arkham City. I'm not gonna lie to you, but you know, in Batman Arkham City, how you're made to think about how you maneuver through the world, you're limited in ways to traverse. In Spider-Man 2, I mean, that's just naturally a part of Spider-Man, right? You have to look at the buildings that are around you. You need buildings to be able to swing off of it. Specifically in this game's implementation of Queens and that area where there's not a lot of tall building. The web wings will only take you so far, so you gotta really think about how you're gonna get around. Yeah, I know that one didn't make that much sense, but it was worth it to bring up the GOAT. Love you, baby girl. Stay real. The way that you upgrade throughout Prototype 2 and become a god over time. The upgrading in Marvel's Spider-Man 2 makes the traversal so much more fun because not only are you getting faster through your web swinging and your web wings, but you get to unlock new abilities like the web slingshot that lets you pull yourself back and then launch into the air. You can unlock the loop-de-loop where if you go down into a dive and then you swing, you'll go up and all the way around, getting crazy momentum. You'll also unlock this quick turn around buildings where you hold circle and push the left stick in the direction you want to go, and Spider-Man will just whip around the building really fast. And even more than that, you've got these different boost powers that you can use while traversing through the air. With Peter, you can use the mechanical arms, or when you're using a symbiote suit, it uses the symbiote tentacles, and with Miles, it's that electricity stuff that just launches you forward. So cool. So much opportunity throughout the game for upgrading, getting faster and better, and moving around the world in different ways. In Infamous Second Son, how you can switch between the different traversal abilities throughout your playthrough, Spider-Man 2 definitely does this better because there's one thing that I wanted from Infamous Second Son that we didn't get, and that was to be able to use these different traversal abilities together to chain them in different ways. And in Marvel Spider-Man 2, you have both the web wings and the swinging, and you can go between those two whenever you want to. If I want to point launch into a glide and then dive down, do a loop-de-loop, get some crazy airtime, and then go into another glide, I can. I seriously think making these powers mutually exclusive in Infamous Second Son was its biggest downfall. And if they make another one, maybe they could fix that. Please make another one. Assassin's Creed Unity, with its quantity and quality of movement animations. I couldn't possibly speak more highly of Marvel Spider-Man 2's traversal animations, because not only did they create a distinct and impressive style for Peter Parker, but they brought in a completely different one for Miles Morales. They took two Spider-Men, pretty much the same character, and made them feel unique from the other just through their personality and how they would maneuver this world. I gotta say, Miles is a lot more fun to to move around as, because it feels like to me he has more tricks and does more things in the air, but both of them feel unique and fun to swing around as. And in Sunset Overdrive, Insomniac's roots, they designed that open world perfectly to complement their movement system. And in Spider-Man 2, I have to say, they did it even better. It's so tough too because they had to use the real-life New York City as a backdrop for this game, so there weren't as many creative liberties to take, but somehow they still managed to tailor the world perfectly for traversal, especially where the web wings are concerned. Given that there are tons of slipstreams throughout the city that get you flying through the city, I have never moved this fast in a video game. Not to mention the boosts that make you fly up into the air so you can keep gliding further. It just shows how creative the people at Insomniac are and how dedicated they are to creating a fun experience over anything. I truly think that Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is open world traversal perfected. But what is it exactly that Marvel's Spider-Man 2 brings to the table that's new? Nothing. Nothing. It doesn't show us anything that we haven't already seen before, but I did say it perfected the traversal. It didn't innovate on it. These games that came before it, they all innovated on traversal in ways that will never be forgotten. But what Marvel Spider-Man 2 did is learn from every single one of them. This is the reason that I chose to talk about Marvel Spider-Man 2's traversal in this way, because when I look at this game's movement system, I don't see the next step in movement. I see a lesson learned from games past. I see systems polished. I see fun prioritized. And that's all I could ever ask for. I hope it didn't come across as me talking smack about all these other games, because if you couldn't tell, these were extremely influential games on my life, and I love every single one of them. I can just really see all the elements from those games implemented. And even then, this isn't the whole story. There's tons of other great traversal games out there, and I'm gonna name a few. These are the honorable mentions that didn't serve my point in the video, so I just pretended they didn't exist. Dying Light 1 and 2, awesome parkour. Just Cause 3, awesome. The Crackdown series, I remember spending so much time just jumping around collecting the different movement tokens. Death Stranding, holy shit. Any movement shooter at all, they are their own beast, and I did not want to talk about them in this video. I am not qualified. Prince of Persia, a lot of people hated this game. I actually really liked it. Dishonored, I have to mention it because I am sick in the head. DC Universe Online, want to talk about flight in a game? Let's talk about this one. Pseudo Regalia, I've never heard of this game before, but Yako told me about it, and I mean, the main character looks like that, so, you know, I'm not a furry or anything, but for that, I mean, you'll catch me on the next full moon just running through the woods butt naked, howling. And if you like Spider-Man, play Webbed. It's an awesome little game where you play as a cute little spider. All those games are fun. Go check them out. Go experience joy and whimsy in your life. And go buy some gamer subs. I didn't want to make a huge deal out of it during this video. Kind of wanted to let the content breathe a little bit. But I recently, you know, got partnered up with gamer subs. I got my own little code. Use code BIBO at the checkout, and it'll help me out a ton. Though I may seem like an unrelenting force, I truly am just one BIBO. So these videos actually take a lot more than just me. I've got a team of 3 other people, super talented team behind the content, pushing this stuff out, making it the best that it possibly can be. I always want to make sure everybody on the team is paid fairly because they're doing awesome work, and engaging with the sponsorships, you know, whether it's the gamer subs or whatever I may have on a video, helps me to do that. And I really only want to bring stuff to you that I actually use myself. Like the Opera GX sponsorship, I actually use the browser. And for gamer subs, I've been drinking it for like the past few weeks. I actually really like it. I've been drinking the titty milk. Yeah, it's really called titty milk. It's actually very good. But yeah, I only promote stuff that I actually use myself, unless they offer me like an absurd amount of money. Just know that if I ever do like a mobile game, we got a bag. I feel like at this point, everyone can kind of see through that YouTuber ad read talk and tune it out, but I just want to be real with you. I like gamer subs. It tastes good. It's not chalky. Like it's a powdered drink, but it doesn't taste like powder. You know what I mean? And they got like a big sale going on, the Black and White Friday sale. It goes on for like today and tomorrow. Just give one of the flavors a try. Pick the funniest name in there and get that one. And when you go to check out, use code BIBO.
Hello all, my name is Geek. I am the editor of this video. People currently has a gun pointed in the back of my head right now, and I'm very scared. You should buy Gamer Subs. Gamer Subs is really good, and I really like the lean flavor. It's peach tea and lemonade. I really like it. Please play help.
All right, thank you so much, Geek, for those lovely messages. May you rest in peace. And yeah, there's a link in the description. You can go over to gamersubs.com and check them out. And after you do that, click this card right here to go watch another one of my awesome videos. Shout out to my team who helps me make some incredible stuff. We got so much good stuff planned through the end of the year and next year. So stay tuned. Yeah, click it. Thank you. Goodbye.